Good morning, CSL. Good to spend time here again with you. It's on Sunday morning. You know, a while back, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, we got together and we said, why are we opening our doors? Why are we doing any of this? What is Sunday morning about? What is the community about? What do we stand for? What do we live for? What are we willing to fight for? And we came up with 7 things that we're really standing for and about in this community and in the world. They are our core values. And they are love and healing and oneness and abundance and spiritual growth and service and diversity. And we'd like to highlight one of our core values to keep it at the forefront of your mind and perhaps your experience this week. And our core value that we're highlighting is spiritual growth. When I was a kid, my parents would take my brother and I about this time of year to go back to school clothing shopping. And it's because we grew out of our clothes. There were only 2 stores in Wichita, Kansas. There was the J.C. Penney's and the Sears store. I was very upset there wasn't Neiman's. But we had to go to one of those stores and find clothes. And I remember going in those stores and buying slim jeans. There were 2 kinds of jeans. You had slim or husky. My brother wore husky and I wore slim. And so it said on the back of your jeans, you know, what size you wore. And it was interesting as you grew physically and your body changed, how you had to know that that was happening by buying new clothes. It's interesting when you grow into an adult, you don't know and necessarily are aware of all the places that you are growing, but you know there's a spirit that occupies this body. It's not just the body that grows and changes, it's the spiritual growth inside. And so the questions to ask yourself are this, to see where and how you're growing. Where am I not loving enough? Where and with whom am I angry? Where am I struggling in my life to forgive? And what do I see when I look at myself in the mirror? Am I happy with what I see there? The quality of your life is dependent upon the quality of the questions you are asking yourself. So if you want to grow spiritually, ask yourself some simple questions like, am I happy? Do I love this work? Do I love the person that I'm living with? Do I love the person that I am? And that will tell you where your areas of growth are. Concentrate all of your spiritual efforts on those areas, and the quality of your life will maximize and increase. Spiritual growth is our core value. You know, I've been feeling a little melancholy lately. This week I had a birthday that reminds me I am clearly in the 4th quarter of my life. And it has me reminiscing about the 1st quarter of my life, which was a much simpler time when I was growing up in that small town in Kansas. I remember my best friend and I used to hang out together listening to music and talking about all the bands, and we both loved the Monkees, right? And we watched the TV show series on Saturday mornings. My best friend Ronnie and I used to walk home from school together every single day. We just lived a few blocks apart. And on those walks home, there was never a shortage of words, it seems like. There was always something to talk about and a lot of laughs. It was a feeling back then of a simple joy where your only concern for life is what you want to do next that's going to bring you fun and what next great adventure you're going to explore as a 12-year-old boy. I miss that. I miss that. I long for the simplicity of life. But I digress. It's probably best to move forward in life than it is to look backward. This week we're continuing our series on forgiveness. We're taking a month of Sundays to go through this because it's a tough one for a lot of us. We've got good reasons not to forgive, and it's so much easier to remain a victim than it is to take the time, the energy, and the effort to go through this process to heal. And I think that's why so many people never do. They just carry the wounds with them every single day, not knowing that in time that wound is going to fester and infect every single area of their lives. Forgiveness should be the most often used tool in your spiritual toolbox, but for most of it, it's the one that we use the least. And that's why we need to talk about it. And that's why we need to help each other go through this challenging process of forgiveness. And that's exactly what we've been doing on our midweek meetings on Zoom. We're having some pretty deep conversations in those midweek meetings. I've seen some people cry. I've seen some people get angry. But you know, it's all good because it's all part of the process of healing. You can join us if you like. Just register at the CSL app, or you can join the convo, as it says on our media wall out there. You can start here. You can take action. You can join the conversation. You can pick these up in the lobby. Our meetings are every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern for those viewing online, and you can register there. Each week we're sharing a remarkable story about forgiveness, and this week our story is about a man named Ron Hall. To tell you the truth, he's not a man that you'd be too much impressed with if you knew just his story. It's actually his wife, Debbie, that is really the extraordinary one. They'd been together for many years before her husband, Ron, decided that he would make a confession to her, and that's that he had an affair with a woman, another woman, during their marriage, and he decided that he was going to tell his wife. And it was her response to that confession that makes our story so remarkable. She said to him after he confessed, "If you promise to never do this again, I will never mention it again. We will wipe the slate clean and you will be completely forgiven by me." And when I read that, I'm like, what? She didn't hold a grudge? She didn't call the divorce attorney? I know a good divorce attorney. She didn't call the divorce attorney. She didn't hold it against him for the rest of his life, reminding him, "You betrayed me, you did this." She said, "I don't want you to live under the weight of this guilt." She said to her husband, "You're forgiven, and now we're going to build our lives together." And I'm thinking, this woman's some kind of saint, right? Some kind of saint. She says to her husband, "I just want you to be faithful. That's all I want. That's all I expect." And Ron was faithful for the rest of their marriage. And Debbie, his wife, never ever once mentioned that affair again. Never once. Now, can you imagine the incredible strength that it must have taken her to do that? Can you imagine how hard it must have been for her to discover her own feelings and deal with her own feelings of inadequacy and not being enough for her husband? Now, if the story ended there, it would still be inspiring. But wait, there's more. Did any of you ever watch that old TV series years and years ago? It was on TV. Della Reese was the actress in it, called Touched by an Angel. Touched by an Angel. Remember that? Well, I think this woman was touched by an angel. I really do. Because she had this incredible experience. She had a remarkable dream one night, and in her dream, God, for whatever form it was that she believed in, God showed her a homeless man and said, "You got to go find this man and make him your friend." So 10 years after this affair took place, Debbie asked her husband to do something with her that was really going to push him out of his comfort zone. She had never asked him to do anything before, and so, of course, he couldn't say no. And so what she did is she told him about this dream that she'd had about this man, and she asked him to help her find this guy, hunt him down, and fulfill, I guess, what would be called a mission from God. Now, Ron thought about it for a minute, and, of course, he couldn't say no. Now, here's where the story gets a little weird and maybe even a little mystical. So Debbie insists that they start volunteering at homeless shelters. They live in Fort Worth. Because that's where she thought she was going to find this guy that she dreamt about, that God showed her, says, "This is this guy, you got to go find him." And they'd been there at this homeless shelter for a couple of weeks, and then one day, while they're serving food to the homeless, this man comes in screaming at the top of his lungs that he's going to kill whoever it is that stole his shoes. And he starts throwing tables, and he's hitting people, and the man is going into a fit of rage, completely insane. And by now her husband, Ron, is hiding underneath a table because he's fearing for his life, right? But not his wife, Debbie. She's jumping up and down saying, "That's him. That's him. That's the man in my dream." Oh, great. Seriously? This insane man, this insane, crazy, homeless man who's threatening to kill everybody is the man that God said we have to be friends with. Just a sidebar from the story, ladies and gentlemen. Historically speaking, any mission from God is going to take you down a wild and crazy and a rough ride. Anyone that takes on the work of the divine is taking on, by unconscious agreement, purification by fire. And this is why one sage said, "Why are you looking for enlightenment? You might not like it." You see, it's a lot easier to stay among the walking wounded and be unconscious. It is a lot easier to stay inside your comfort zone because there's fear out there. Going outside of your comfort zone into the unexplored territory, outside of everything that you've known and done, that's very scary out there. That's the hard part. But you see, everything good, and I mean everything good that you want, is outside there. It's just beyond the perimeter of your fear. It's in the field of infinite possibility where the divine awaits us, calling us out one by one. I dare you. I dare you. Remember that the next time you feel the urge to try something new, to do something heroic, something that scares the hell out of you. Because more than likely, that is your personal call to greatness that is rising up from the depths of your soul. It's the divine whispering in your ear, calling you out into the field of infinite possibility. So, back to our story. Ron starts asking around about this crazy guy that Debbie says, "Hey, we're supposed to be friends with." And come to find out, talking to other homeless people in the shelter, he's known as Suicide. Suicide. That's what they call him. You know why they call him Suicide? Because if you get near him, you're going to commit suicide, right? All right. Ron couldn't back out of his word on his wife. He knew how important it was to her. So for 5 months, he's driving into the inner city in Fort Worth, going through dangerous neighborhoods, looking for this guy named Suicide, whose real name is Denver. So he drives by him. He finds him on the street. He drives by him slowly every day, and he slows down as he's driving by, and he says, "Hey, why don't you get in the car? Why don't you get in the car?" For months and months, he's asked, "Hey, why don't you get in the car?" One morning, to his horror, he actually does get in the car. And he gets in the car, and he says, "Man, why do you keep following me? What the hell do you want from me?" And Ron says, "I just want to be your friend." He goes, "Yeah, right. You want to be my friend. Why don't you just leave me the hell alone?" And Ron said, "I actually would, but my wife says we have to be friends." And they did indeed become friends. It took a while to get beyond that wall of anger around him that most people are too afraid to approach, because when someone is angry, you don't want to go near them. You see, Denver, also known as Suicide, was an angry black man with a story of his own. His hesitation to befriend these two white people, these Caucasians, Ron and Debbie, came from his own childhood trauma. I don't know if you remember this or not, but a couple weeks ago in my lesson I said, anyone who is walking around out there angry, that is full of anger and rage, is actually hurting inside. They have trauma that they've never dealt with. They have unprocessed pain, too many unsaid words, too many uncried tears. Well, that's what was going on with Denver. And that's what he was carrying around in his heart and in his soul, and that's why he was so angry and so furious. He grew up in the Deep South on a plantation, believe it or not. And when he was 15 years old, he was roped and dragged by the Ku Klux Klan for helping a white woman change a tire. To spare his life, the clan made him promise to never, ever, ever approach or speak to a white woman ever again. Decades and decades and decades passed, and it wasn't until he met Debbie that he disobeyed their orders. So in spite of all the reasons not to, the cultural, the ethnic, the economic, and the class differences, somehow Ron and Debbie and Denver became the best of friends. In fact, he'd come to their house every morning for coffee and lots of deep, meaningful conversations. And it was there in their time together where he started to get close to this woman who had first met him in a dream. The woman who I say was on a mission from God. As time passed and the relationship grew and they became closer and closer, later Denver would predict Debbie's diagnosis with cancer. And for the 19 months that she battled that disease, Denver would come by every single day offering words of encouragement and faith. A few weeks before she passed away, he had his own dream about Debbie. And he went to her husband and he told her about the dream. And he said, "You tell Miss Debbie to lay down her torch and you pick it up and you carry it for the rest of your life." On the day that Debbie passed away, guess who shows up at the door? Denver. He shows up on the doorstep to tell her, "Today is the day you're going to meet your Maker." Somehow, he knew. After Debbie passed away, Denver moved in with Ron into the big house. And the two of them lived together for 11 years until Denver passed away and joined his friend Debbie in the afterlife. Ron went on, carried on, and he founded an organization called the Same Kind Foundation that provides resources to the homeless. And get this, a book and a movie deal followed telling the stories of their lives. So an awful lot of good came out of this mysterious relationship. And this is how one act of forgiveness can change so many people's lives. One act, one choice that Debbie made to forgive her husband's transgressions opened up a world of good. And so I ask you today, is today your day? Is today the day you take your act? Are you ready to begin the process of healing through forgiveness? Because what I know is that living in the kind of world that we do, I'm willing to bet something has happened to you. Someone has hurt you and made you angry that you have not forgiven. There's still somebody you are angry with or hurt by. You're still holding hurt in your heart and pain in your soul. And my advice is let it go. It's not worth holding on to. And they're not worth you ruining the rest of your life over the pain they caused. Let it go. You see, the process starts by you making the choice to forgive, even if you don't know how, even if you're still really angry, even if you know you're right and they were wrong. Because the anger and the hurt that you hold on to hurts you, not them. It poisons your life and your relationships. That's why forgiving them is always a gift that you give to yourself. It has nothing to do with the person who hurt you. It's pretty obvious from the story told here today that Debbie Hall was an amazing woman. I mean, personally, as I'm reading the story myself, I am greatly inspired by her choice to forgive. But I honestly find the backstory even more interesting. This dream, this mysterious dream that she had about a man she'd never met. You know, and I've been thinking about this. Maybe this is some kind of soul partnership, you know, a relationship between them that predates the birth certificates of their bodies here on this planet. You know, maybe they came to heal each other at some designated point in their lives. Maybe they came to heal or change the world. I don't know what their purpose was, but I do know this. There is an organizing principle. There is a loving presence in the universe that pervades all space and time that some people call God. There is a purpose and a meaning to each one of our lives. And our time here on earth in these bodies is a small fraction of the eternality in which we all exist. And so that means that every person is important. Every life matters. No one is disposable. And certainly not the homeless people we see in the streets. I don't have a lot of wisdom to share with you today, but I want to leave you with the words of wisdom that Denver spoke at Debbie's funeral. He said this: "We just all regular folks walking down the road that God done put in front of us. Whether we's rich or whether we's poor or something in between, this earth ain't no final resting place. So in a way, we all are homeless, just working our way home." You know, maybe that's why me and my best friend Ronnie had such a good time walking each other home from school when we were kids. You know, maybe that's what we're all doing. You know, just walking each other home, trying to find our way back to love, where we all belong. And so ends the lesson. You know, the world is a very noisy and chaotic place. There's lots of confusion, a little bit of anger, a lot of nonsense. And in the midst of all these unconscious people trying to find the light, we get hurt. We're not supposed to carry these wounds with us every day. We're supposed to heal them and overcome them. We're not supposed to keep the anger that is alive in our minds and our hearts. We can't live under the burden of this. It has to be released. Let's take some time this morning to go in meditation, to do just that.
I breathe out, I breathe in, I am still, I go within. When I quiet my mind, in the stillness I find. Spirit meets me there. Spirit meets me there.
Today is a day of freedom for me. I'm going to free my spirit. I'm not going to carry around hurt or pain in my heart anymore. I don't want to be among the walking wounded. I'm not going to create another problem for this world. I'm not going to be an angry man or an angry woman. Today's my day of freedom. I'm going to set my spirit free. I'm going to let go of this. I'm going to drop it. I'm going to stop telling the story of the pain I've endured, the hardship, and the trouble I've seen. I'm going to stop telling that story. I'm going to stop identifying with that story. I'm going to get up out of this victim's chair. As comfortable as it has been, it no longer serves me. I'm going to take my power back and do something with it. I'm going to do something good. I want to make something good. I'm going to be something good. It's the strength within me that gives me the courage to take this action and make this choice. It's the power source that animates my body. It's the love and the joy deep inside my heart that fuels me to have the faith to make this choice. It's God inside its creation. Let's all go there now and be still in its presence. As I look back on my life, I can see that everything happened for a reason. And I believe that only good shall unfold, and so everything that happened to me really happened for me. I'm going to take whatever good there was to get from that, and I'm going to move forward, letting go and releasing the chains of the past so that I can move freely into the best life. This is a choice, an action we can all take right now that is blessed by the universe, that reaches out to us as we reach back to it and gives us the strength and pulls us forward into the greatness God designed each and one of us to live. It's established, it's done in mind, it's done in belief, and now it's done in action. And so it is.
I breathe out, I breathe in, I am still, I go within. When I quiet my mind, in the stillness I find. Spirit meets me there. Spirit meets me there.
We close our service as we always do with a healing affirmation. It is a statement of truth that I'm going to ask you to say aloud with me. Will you say it with me? It says this: my journey of forgiveness is a path that returns me home to love. Let's know this together. There is a light that illuminates the universe. It is the light of love, the purpose and reason for all of existence, and for your creation, and for you even knowing your name and address is because love wants to express itself. It is the only motivation in the universe for creation. Love, love, love is the reason. It is also the healing. Whatever has obstructed love in our lives, whatever hurt, whatever pain, whatever anger, whatever situation, whatever person has harmed or hurt us, we are willing now to release and let go of. We're done, we're finished. We're closing that chapter on our lives. We are freeing our souls, stepping into a new path on a new journey, a journey back home to love where we belong. We're going to wake up each day in love. We're going to wake up each day joyful and free again. Thank God. Thank God. And so it is. I'll see you back here next week, 10:30 Eastern. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you for watching, and thanks for supporting CSL. If you'd like to know more about us, check us out on our website or social media. Blessings.